Howdy folks, this is Checkers back again with another Fallout 4 video here today to talk a bit about Bethesda RPGs, their E3 presentation which hasn't happened yet, so some speculation, and we are going to revamp Nordhagen Beach for my Pathfinder character. So this isn't the Let's Play character. I kind of wanted to take an episode out of the Let's Play just so we could talk about Bethesda's E3 presentation, speculate on the two new games that they are working on between now and Elder Scrolls 6 and Fallout 5, that sort of thing. And yeah, so here we are. So first things first, I have a bit of a sore throat, so I may sound rough and gravelly or strange or what have you, but we'll try and work through that one way or the other. And incidentally, if you ever want to know if you can tell which character is which, if you see the white power armor, arms, that's the Pathfinder character, who is aligned with the Institute. Mainly because my thought at the time, and still is, that in general the Institute can be the best choice for the Commonwealth, at least if you know, strong-arm it into submission. So in my imagination, I've forced the Institute to do what I want, not what they wanted. So I've kind of I've retconned my Institute history with this character. But anyway, I have gone a bit about, and I've laid out foundation walls and things. So I've changed the settlement from what it was by adding these walls all around. Just a bit. We're going to open the beach up on this one a little bit more. But in general, we're here to do both, to build and to talk a bit about Bethesda's RPGs, because there are some really amazing things that go on in Bethesda RPGs that tend to get overlooked. And one of the biggest, I think, overlooked things in a Bethesda RPG is the inventory system and how Bethesda games keep track of it all. So if we go into my inventory, and let's see, let's go over to apparel here. I probably have something I can throw on the floor. So we're going to throw this pack elephant helmet on the floor. And huzzah, there it is. We've got a pack elephant helmet on the floor. So why is that important? Well, what makes it interesting, what makes it important, is that we could most likely travel all the way across the Commonwealth to the Red Rocket, come back, and the helmet would still be here. It could disappear. It could easily disappear because one of the settlers in the settlement here could come along and pick it up. But the game actually keeps track of quite a bit of information within a given cell. So Nordhagen Beach, this part of Nordhagen Beach is a cell of some number or designation. I don't know what it is actually, but it is that. We'll store the helmet in the workbench there. We may need to do that kind of drop store trick to get the size down over time, but we'll see. But I want you to think about every other RPG you've played and think about items and throwing your items on the floor and what expectation you would have of going back to that place and finding that item. Now think about, if you've played Fallout 4, think about how many rooms, how many buildings, how many exterior areas, how many, what the editor calls cells, exist, and think of how much information that's keeping. Because a lot of it is not just that the item is there. Sometimes, you can place an item and the item will keep its orientation, it will keep its elevation, and that is a significant amount of information. It's literally crazy. Thinking back on all the RPGs that I've ever played down through all the years, the only one that I know that does something like that is, or the only company, is Bethesda. Ultima, EA's Origin before it was EA, maybe. But it's not common. Usually what will happen is there is kind of, I'm not sure what the phraseology is for it, but some sort of pass that goes along and says, okay, what we're going to do now is clean up this room, clean up this whatever their particular game would call a room or a cell, so that it, it doesn't take up that much memory, basically, to keep from having to store that sort of information. Just trying to... didn't quite get that as well as I would like. I don't know if it will let me squeeze in between there. Well, in that case, let's just store that, and we will maybe, we'll just do that, and then a bit. Come on, you know you want to do it. I can feel it. There we go. Okay. So, yeah, that is a really, I feel, overlooked quality in Bethesda's games. They allow you to kind of, not kind of, they allow you to have more control over your world by far than most other computer role-playing games, CRPGs, whether that's on a console or a PC. I mean, think about, say, like Diablo. If you've played Diablo, would you really expect... Oh, there's my problem. Would you expect Diablo to keep your items between sessions on the floor? Would you, if you found a bunch of legendary weapons in Diablo, say Diablo 3, would you really want to just throw it on the floor and trust that it would be there? I mean, to some degree, that Diablo 3 will save items, even items on the floor, while you're playing in that given session. But, accidents happen. We're trying to make my traditional angled entrance here, just so whenever I build a settlement, I do not like to have straight shots for anyone coming in. I like to make them have to turn corners and go down narrow passageways. I try and keep it open enough for the Brahmin to get through, but that's about it. And I think that's a fair opening for a Brahmin. But mainly I don't want people to have good clear lines of sight to fire in on the settlers. And let's come down here. I'm going to try and keep the beach a bit more open this time than I did on the Let's Plays. Build. Oops. Felt that one coming. But, yeah, so, if you think about that particular challenge, keeping items where you expect to find them, Bethesda's been doing this for quite a while, and impressively well. And, it lets us do, even what we're doing right now. Building our settlements, putting things in place, and having some expectation that these things will still be here when we come back to them. We're going to revamp our defenses here too, I think. I need to get power over here. So, I in my heart of hearts, I really kind of hope that one of the new titles that Bethesda is working on is a sci-fi kind of starship game. It's something that I predicted last year. I don't know if I did one a year before, but if you've seen, and I'll try and put a card to it here, I did a video on the designer's note for the Elder Scrolls Arena, the first Elder Scrolls. And it, one of the things in there was, you know, talking about, you know, what it would be like to be a starship captain and how cool that would be. You know what? I wonder. Well, maybe we can just bridge across here. And, you know, since the time I first read that note, and Arena is the game that made me really come to pay attention to Bethesda, because back in 1994 they were, you know, an upstart for this, for role-playing games. Back then I think your mainstay RPG developers would have been like Origin-ish, EA/Origin, 3DO, who brought the Might and Magic series. I think Surtech was still around, folks who made Wizardry. But yeah, I just remember thinking, ooh, you know, it'd be kind of cool to see this kind of freedom in a sci-fi RPG situation. And I still, you know, even following Star Citizen as closely as I do, I really think that seeing Bethesda do a Starship type RPG would just be phenomenal. And oops, we want, sure, we can back that up. We'll maybe add a couple of these bad boys up here. And so one of my predictions, and that may be heavily biased on Desire, but also on that first designer's note from way back when, would be, like I said, that sci-fi, you know, starship simulator sort of game. And I do actually, let's see, I think maybe let's give this a whirl. I hope I'm right. I don't know. I haven't, I've seen a lot of fascinating YouTube thumbnails that I don't trust at all. If I see someone say, I know the secret of what Bethesda is going to do at E3, I roll my eyes and think, sure you do. So I haven't, like, paid attention to any of the current speculation, because I trust it about as much as I trust anyone who I think has a more primary motive of garnering views as opposed to truth. But for me personally, that's one that I do hope for. I do hope for sci-fi something. And I think even if you manipulated, say, Fallout 4 or Skyrim's editor, you could kind of whip something up even on your own. I mean, let's face it, everything is a matter of, there's some matter of truth in any given thing and some matter of perception. So it wouldn't take a whole lot of changes to truth to be able to change a lot of perception of what we are doing right now. In other words, let's go into the corridor that we built back here. And I think we are getting to a place where we need to build out a little bit of the floor here so carabineers can actually, get in here. So let's put a pin in the thought I had a moment ago, just because it's also going to help me get up to that corridor. Okay, I don't want to take up too much beach. I don't mind taking up this area over here, leveling it out that way. Okay, so let's continue that. And then we are going to do that. And that. Come over to floor here, and we're going to put a raised floor up there. Something for the water to go through. Back to walls. And I'm just going to do this. There. Okay, so, you know, back to the thought that we put a pin in. It wouldn't take much if we roofed this over and put a different texture on these walls to, you know, turn this into a starship corridor. Well, but how would you do the fighting and all that? You know, there are lots of switches and triggers and things that I think you could just alter some of the flavor text, and you could turn, you know, think kind of Starship Enterprise, you know, Star Trek from the bridge kind of a fight. I think you could pull it off with some imagination and some out-of-the-box thinking here. You know, something where you're not really maneuvering like a fighter or a spaceship like you would, say, in Star Citizen, but, you know, plant down your chair, your captain's chair, have a bunch of consoles, and say, okay, you know, you are in charge of engineering, and then, say, have, you know, different positions that would allow you to basically simulate a starship and have some fun. There. Now we have a little bit of walkway around here, and we've got our stairs up to our defensive position, and this is easy enough to hop up to. Good, good, good. Okay. But there is, you know, I've been playing through quite a bit of Arena and a bit of Daggerfall, and just going back through the history of Bethesda's RPGs, there is a level of ambition that you just don't see. You know, people give Bethesda a lot of flack. Oh, well, it's buggy, it's, you know, this, that, and the other thing. Well, yeah, it's a lot of systems. Think of Fallout 4. Just to make Fallout 4 completely unbuggy, the thing would still be probably in development. But how many systems are going on here? I'm not saying that, you know, they shouldn't try and make their games less buggy. That would probably require hiring more Q&A, more people to go and try and break things, but, and, you know, probably more varied systems than they have. I imagine that's not something that you see a room full of 100 different PCs with 100 different configurations that they have people who could break. But all of that being said, there is just so much going on here, from settlement building, from that inventory system that keeps track of not only what you have, but what's on the floor, what's in your rocket, what, you know, is lying around in the various settlements that you have around the entire Commonwealth. So there is a lot going on. And every time I see someone get a little too antsy, oh, you know, The Elder Scrolls 6 isn't going to come out until I'm 90,000,030, and my entire childhood will have been gone in a blink of an eye. Yeah, probably, you know, quite honestly. But do you want to play a game that you're really going to enjoy, or do you want to see it cranked out like some kind of, you know, yearly installment franchise where it, you know, still sort of does the same thing it always does, but it has no soul? The tractor will never move. You will never be able to get into a car. You will never be able to have, you know, inventory items stored. You're not going to build a settlement. You're going to run around and be able to shoot things. There are tons of games that already do that. So I have an immense amount of respect for Bethesda, and I have an immense amount of patience for them. I really believe in what they do. I love their RPGs. I really do. There is just no better feeling in gaming than when a new Bethesda RPG drops and that sense of exploration, that sense of what will happen. And you know things are going to go sideways, and that is okay. If you saw the Daggerfall video I did yesterday, there's the imp, like, that is, 2 or 3 doors into the first dungeon of that game, and it can't be struck by iron weapons, which is typically the weapon you start out with. So you have a magical creature that can cast spells and burn you down in a heartbeat, and if you only have iron weapons, you can't hit it. But it's still fun, and it's still a challenge to get past, and it's still exciting. And if you can get by all of that in Daggerfall, you have a world where people judge you by the clothes you wear. I am not kidding when I say I have played Daggerfall and gone out shopping for clothes so that I could have a better chance at persuading people, at interacting with people, and I cannot say I've ever done that in another game. Where I've gone clothes shopping with intent, Sometimes you'll walk into a store and go, ooh, that would be kind of fun to wear, but not, you know what I need today? I need a better cape. I want a cape with a fur hood, really expensive, something nice, something that's really going to let people know that I'm a person of substance. I mean, that's just astonishing. I think, Bethesda got some heat for Skyrim, people saying, oh, it's dumbed down. I don't necessarily think Bethesda's goal was to dumb Skyrim down so much as experiment with getting people into the game quicker, right? Because and believe me, I love the prime statistics and the skills. I love all of it. I want more of it, not less of it. But if you have a constant kind of, okay, I need to keep an eye on when I level, do I get 3 skill points or 6 skill points or 4 or 5, and I want 6, so I need to save my game and reload because I want the max number of points per level for my character, because while it doesn't mean anything at any, 1 or 2 levels, by the time you're 30 levels higher, whether you had 3 or 6 points is a difference of 90 skill points, it starts to make a big difference. Personally, I get a kick out of that, too. I get a kick out of the paying attention to the numbers and, I don't believe in min-maxing, and I don't like the idea of builds. I would rather build a character and try it and play with it and have it be entirely screwy and still try and make it work than try and figure out exactly where I should put all my points in that build. I want to get the maximum of points, don't get me wrong, but I don't want to figure out, oh, if I had my intelligence down at 30, I would still have enough magical defense and I could crank all the other. That I don't like. So I tend, if someone asks me about builds, I will say, I'm not the person to ask. I like screwy character builds because sometimes you come up with the most amazing character by doing the most insane thing to them. And Bethesda games certainly allow you to do that. Okay, we need some more defenses here. And we're going to need power drawn over here as well. What is the fastest route to power is going to be just putting up some taller pylons here. Okay, and there we go. We'll get some turrets set up here, and then I'll take you on a little tour of what has gone on in here so far. But yeah, I think, I am definitely very excited to see what Bethesda is going to do later in their E3 presentation. I want to expand this a little bit so we have a little more surface area to put turrets up. There we go. So now we can go back to here. I'm going to throw a spotlight in the center and a heavy laser here and a heavy laser here and down to power. Okay, there. And so basically my plan for this was to leave the beach far more open than than the Let's Play character. Walling this off so no one from the like racetrack or the bridge can get a good clean shot at them. You know, the closest shooting points are like over there. So, you know, they should be okay. I know there are interior spawns probably, but we still have some of the old turrets set up, and eventually we'll get some more in here. We have another wall running up over here. And this is also all new here. I built a kind of interior pass-through in this wall, and you can come up through here, get to the upper levels. There are some old turrets left here. Let's get rid of those right now. And we'll go with heavy laser and another missile turret. Set them up right there. And another spot in between. Love my spotlights. And let's get a couple points down for more power distribution. Okay, and there we go. And then we have all of this over here. There's the generator that was actually here before. And we have, oh, you know what we could do here is make it a little more convenient for ourselves. Throw a stairway in here. Stairway doesn't want to play nice with others. So, what can we do? How far can we? Not that far, apparently. I really thought these would connect to each other. Yeah, well, we'll leave that for another day. Another problem, another day. Okay. So, and one day I'll come in here and add some more amenities. So they'll have more places to chill out and enjoy their beach. And yeah, have a nice corridor here that they can't really be rushed, and we still have our interior turrets to take care of any interior spawns. Plus these guys will probably respawn too. But some of these old chatterbox turrets can take care of any interior problems until the bigger stuff can get a hold of them. But yeah, you know, it is an exciting time. It's always exciting when Bethesda's about to do a presentation. You always hope for something. I can't guarantee from my heart of hearts that they're going to have anything to announce tomorrow unless they just want to relieve pressure, because their new theory, and I think it's a wise theory, is, or at least appears to be, let's hang on to announcements until we're less than a year from release, which is great because that, you know, means we have to wait less time, means they have to field less, you know, probably to some degree at least, less harassment about whether or not they're getting anything done or how they're doing it. And so it's a very exciting time, and I will of course be absolutely glued to the presentation unless my sore throat turns into something else and I just can't, and even then I'll still probably do my best to like watch it in bed. But if I'm not laid out, then I will probably be at least on Twitter trying to make comments as it goes, unless I just can't tear myself away, and it might take me a day, or it might not, to make a video not kind of a reaction video or something. But I will be paying attention, and I am very, very crazy excited, as I always am, when the potential for a new Bethesda RPG rolls around. And so, keep an eye on this space, and I hope you folks are having an absolutely wonderful day. And I'd really like to thank you for taking some time to watch me ramble around Nordhagen again and chatter on about Bethesda and their RPGs. For the moment, though, I would like to point out that if you look in the upper right-hand corner, you will see a small letter I with a white circle around it. These are cards and links to other videos that I've made. Also, I have a Twitter link in the description of the video and on my channel's main page. If you're on mobile, it'll be on my channel's About page. I would like to thank you guys for being the best community out there. Truly, you guys are awesome, and you make this an absolute joy to do, and I really do want to thank you for that. It is... When I'm not feeling my best, it's very nice to know that at least what I'm doing is appreciated, and I really, in turn, appreciate that so very much. So thank you. I would also like to thank you for watching. I hope you found the video entertaining and maybe just a little informative. I would like to invite you to subscribe, like, and share if you so desire, and to ask you, above all, to please take care.